All right, first off, I'd like to thank you for doing this interview with the Hype Magazine tonight.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Super honored, man. To get started, can you tell the fans and listeners who you are and where you from?
My name is Taylor Monroe. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, more specifically East Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay, dope. Now, being from East Cleveland, Ohio, did it make it harder for you or easier for you to become the artist and the talented, director and everything you are today?
That's a good question. I don't know if it make it harder or easier, but it was definitely the place and time that I needed to be the artist I am today. Everything that happened was in God's divine will, and whatever challenges or adversity that I went through growing up in East Cleveland created the texture and carved me and honed me into who you're looking at right now.
Yeah. So you mentioned East Cleveland, very familiar with that area and kind of the struggle that goes on there. For people who's not familiar, what's some of the things you had to overcome as a kid to become who you are today and stay as positive and, as successful as you are?
Well, there was a lot. I'll just stick to, and this might not be specific to East Cleveland, but just growing up as a young kid who identified as being an artist at a young age, and not seeing the professional version of yourself, a Black male as an artist, in your history books, in the art museums, or in the curriculum in general in school. And so the difficulty of knowing that you were born to be an artist and not seeing that representation when you went to museums, when you looked inside your history books, and still keeping that passion and that fire burning inside of you to continue to grow and to be something that you never seen an example of. I was the first, when I became a professional artist, I was the first Black male professional artist I see. So,
yeah. So we all had art in school. A lot of people learned to like to draw and all that stuff. Right. How did you know that art was your future career? Like, what was it about art that made you so excited that you're like, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life becoming, the standard bearer that you are today for artists, community, for Black, artists and stuff like that?
That's a great question. There were two moments in my life, right? So when I was 2 years old, my mother said that I would draw these bubble crosses all over her furniture, on her walls, on her tables, and I would call them pains. And no one knew what I was talking about until one day we were outside and an airplane flew over our head. And I started screaming, pain, pain, pain. And she looked up and she saw those bubble crosses. And she's like, he wasn't drawing bubble crosses. He was drawing airplanes.
Wow.
And so she instilled in me and fostered the gift, in me to be an artist because of that story. And then once I made it to second grade at Roselle Elementary, I realized that I had a gift that other kids didn't have. When I'll never forget it, in art class, we had to draw something out of a Jet magazine or Ebony magazine, whatever it was. It was an Ebony magazine for me. And I drew a depiction of Martin Luther King's funeral. Wow. And when it was my turn to present it to the class, their reaction let me know that I had a gift that they didn't have. Yeah. Because for me, I was like, wait a minute, you guys can draw this, Yeah. And it was from that point on where I knew that I had a gift, and I knew that it was important for me to protect that gift.
Wow. Now, I've seen in a lot of your work we're going to highlight tonight, you are very passionate about uplifting idols of the culture of Black people and everything like that. Why is that so important to you? And how does it feel to know that you have created some of the works of art that will stand the test of time because you've honored some of our legends the way you have?
So that is the part that touches my heart the most. Yeah. Because of my upbringing, because I would go to the museums and not see anything that looks like me, not see representation from me, and to be able to have made artwork that will be here long after I'm gone. This earth will still be here, and there will be my picture, a Black artist with either a painting or a custom tennis shoe. If we're talking about the Smithsonian or the Obama Museum, that represents my culture. And so that the next generations won't have to go through what I went through. They'll be able to go walk into a museum 5 years old and say, oh, I can be that. Oh, right there's a representation of me. That person is like me. So that means more to me than anything.
Now you've mentioned going to the museums a few times. Like, was your parents taking you to museums like to just go enjoy, or you talking more about when you went on school trips? Like you've mentioned that a few times that there wasn't representation for you there. So I want to highlight what kind of museums
Yes.
you were talking about, and what was it that made you want to become an artist in the first place? You're talking about you had the gift. You're talking about there's no role models. There's no
Mm-hmm.
opportunities that you see. So you had to carve your own lane. What was
Right.
it about art that made you say, I'm going to be the one to create this lane?
Okay, so first, I think it was a mixture of both as far as school field trips
Okay.
and my mother and father taking me to the museums because they knew I loved art,
Awesome.
and that's part of like fostering that gift into the child, bringing them into environments that bring them in environments that speaks to the gift that's inside of them. I didn't see anything that represented me as far as me being a Black man, but I did see beautiful artwork, and I did see where my art could go as a creative, but just didn't see anyone who looked like me. And what was the second part of the question?
Oh, what led you know that art could be your path? Like you said, there's no role models, there's no opportunities, never seen
Yeah,
anybody who's done it. What told you could be the one to change that?
you know what? That took time. That was more of a stumble upon.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
growing up, all I kept hearing was, you're going to be a starving artist. You're going to be a starving
Yeah.
artist, and you need to fall back on something else because, no one's going to know who you are until you're dead and gone, and you're not going to make any money doing it. And when I was younger, I believed it. I listened to those voices, and I fell into I'm gonna call it a trap of thinking that the only way that I can be successful is to be an athlete. And
Yeah.
that's what they would tell me. To say, oh, you're big, you're strong, you're fast, you can play in the NFL. And you know what? When I turned on the TV, it validated what they said. Because there I see representation of myself where I didn't see it in the museum. So I said, okay, I'm gonna play in the NFL. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. Right. Well, I did well in high school, put art on the back burner, and got a scholarship to go to Miami University
Oh,
to play
congrats.
football. So Miami,
Yep.
Ohio, famously known for Ben Roethlisberger. He was actually a teammate of mine, famous Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer. So it was there where I started to suffer injuries, right? So I tore my ACL in high school, and then I tore both my shoulders while I was in college. And by my junior year, it was quite obvious that I wasn't going to make it to the NFL. And so I had nothing else to do but fall back, not only on my education, but fall back on what I originally knew what I was born to do, and that was to be an artist. And so it was like in my dorm room when I started painting shoes for my teammates. And then I was like, and it still took me time. It still took me time. It wasn't until I was in corporate America. I worked for Sherwin-Williams. I was a market manager. Switched jobs, went to be a logistics manager at TQL, and I was sitting there at my desk. And it was September 2007.
Okay.
And God spoke to me.
There you go. Love it.
Basically, I heard, said, why are you spending this much time, all this time, doing something I didn't create you to do?
Woo. Okay. Now, do you have a close relationship?
Like was that?
Do you have a close relationship to God at this moment?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. My whole life.
Dope.
I grew up in the church, and God has been my rock and my salvation, the whole way through. So, and to that point, I got up and I walked over to my manager, and I told him, I know this is gonna sound weird, but I need to leave this job.
Wow. Okay.
To go pursue being an artist because, and I'm like, I know you're not gonna understand. And he cut me off. He said, man, you can make, 6 figures at this job. And I said, I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm like, but what I was called to do, I need to go on that journey and embark on that journey. And so, I'm sorry, somebody was phoning here now. And so I would love to tell you that everything went well. Yep. Everything like I just hit it off the bat right away. But what the truth of the reality is, I went broke pursuing my passion as to being an artist. And so when I go to sleep at night, I heard those echoes from what people told me when I was younger, that you would be a starving artist.
That
And
self-doubt.
so at this point, I'm like, did I make a mistake? Did I walk into this world, this life that people have warned me about? And I kind of stayed with it. You know why I stayed with it? Because I got 3 younger brothers. I got 17 younger cousins.
Gotta be
and they all looked up to me.
Yeah.
And I knew that if I quit, that one or two things would happen. Either they wouldn't embark on their purpose, or if they did and stuff got rough, they would quit because Van quit.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? This is bigger than me. I have to be the example for them. So no matter how long it took, I was going to struggle to make it to that point, just to be an example for my brothers, just to be an example for my cousins. I wasn't even thinking about anybody outside of them, right? I didn't know that I would be, go viral for making a custom shoe and being in a museum. I had no clue at that point. I just knew that the people who were closer to me looked up to me, and I needed to be an example for them, for a person who identified their gift and had embarked on that journey of pursuing that purpose.
I love that answer, man. And I want to highlight that because you said God called you and said, what are you doing? I didn't create you for this. You're wasting your talent. And you go and chase this dream. And everybody thinks just because God called you, now things get easier. No, if you read the Bible and know your stories, it gets harder. So while you're sitting here saying, I'm doing God's work, I've got all this positive momentum, I want to do great for the world, the naysayers are in your head, the devil's playing games on you, trying to stop you. What kept you going, and what was the first moment you knew it was going to be a successful situation? Like you took the leap of faith, as Steve Harvey says. You're kind of struggling as a starving artist. All the naysayers moments are getting into your head. What changed and showed you not only are you going to be able to do this and make some money off it, but you're going to be successful and become this legendary person you are today? So
in January of 2008, I had eviction notice on my door. And so this was the point where I could have went back to my old job. Or I could have kept pressing forward. And so what gave me the inspiration, before it was Obama, it was the book of Exodus. And if you think about when Moses brought the children of Israel out of Egypt, and they got to the sea, and the children of Israel were complaining. And here comes Pharaoh's chariots behind them. They're like, I would rather go back there.
You're like, you sure?
Than face this. And you remember when Moses cried out to God, and when God said to Moses, he said, why are you crying out to me? What is that in thy hand? A rod. Stretch it forward and part the sea. And walk on dry ground. And so I was crying out to God when I had that eviction notice. I was sitting there in my apartment, and God spoke to me again. Why are you crying out to me? What did I give you? What is in thy hand? This paintbrush, this artistic ability. Stretch it forward. Part your sea, Van Taylor Monroe. You're at the sea, and you're thinking about going back into Egypt because you're not using what I gave you. What is that in thy hand? So I painted, oh my God, Richard Brown. He was the owner of Pimp My Kicks. And he was in Cincinnati at the time. I was living in Cincinnati at the time. And he sent an order to me to paint 9 pairs of tennis shoes.
Wow, okay.
I said, oh my goodness, this right here could pay off my eviction notice. And I called him. I didn't know this man. I called him. I said, listen, I can paint these shoes, but I need the money up front because I'm not getting evicted from my apartment. He said, cool, meet me at this location. It was like at an amusement park at like midnight. It was closed. It looked real. It was crazy, right? It was crazy.
That leap of faith.
It was a midpoint for us, right? So we met there, and I got the money, got the shoes, went home, paid my eviction notice off, and it was the first night where I got rest. I slept every single night, but it's the first night where my mind actually rested. And then that night, the Obama shoe came to me in a dream, exactly how it is today. It came to me in a dream. I woke up at 2 a.m. in the morning. I painted the shoe. And then I didn't know that it would become what it became. And I took it to the mall, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to take pictures of it, and I'm going to put it on my MySpace page.
It's old,
And then that's when it actually just took off for me. And when I saw that the image went viral before we understood what viral was. This is 2008,
Yep.
right? So
that's right when he's about to get elected. Then, so you did it before he was.
I did it before anything. I did it before. I mean, at this point, he was not the favorite. It was Hillary at the time. In January of 2008, it was Hillary. I painted that shoe to be a reminder to myself that if he can make it at least this far as a black man running for president, I didn't even think. I would say I didn't think. He was not the favorite. I will say that.
Yeah, facts.
I was like, you know what, man, you can be this generational artist of your generation. Like, you can be this artist that moves the needle, this artist that can inspire, encourage generations that come after you. If he can do this, you can do what you were called to do. And that's what that shoe was supposed to represent, just for me. I didn't pick that for anybody else but me. And so I posted it, it went viral, and then it was at that moment where I was like, okay, this can be something. Yeah. And the Smithsonian Museum reached out to me, and they were the first people to contact me and say, hey, we see what this shoe is doing. In the upcoming years, we're going to build an African American history museum. Wow. And can you understand how much? Yeah,
because you were saying you cannot see.
I cried when I heard that.
Yeah.
Coming from my childhood, when I was like, wow, I went to museums that I didn't see myself. They're going to build a museum specifically for my culture, and I'm going to be in it for painting tennis shoes. And I almost could have quit. Like, I almost quit on this. I almost went back into Egypt. Like, I almost didn't cross the sea on dry ground.
Yeah, I want to highlight that because you said something really powerful to me. I don't know if you're familiar with Mike Todd, Pastor Mike Todd, and it's called Crazy Faith. And he talks about the moment where God woke him up at 3:00 in the morning, and he went to his daughter's room and wrote a vision. The vision was your church is gonna be in this big amphitheater. You're gonna be all these different things, and people called him crazy. And when you're talking, I hear it at night. You get this crazy order. So you get 9 orders. Was that the biggest order you had ever had?
That was the biggest order I had at that point, yes.
What do you think got that person's attention in the first place to want to use you? Did you have any advertisements out there?
Yeah, I was making shoes. I was making shoes since my time at Miami, and I was posting on my Facebook page and my MySpace.
Dope.
So I didn't see a future. I didn't know that there was a future in it. Right? Yeah. I was passionate about something that was new, that I didn't see many other artists had mastered. Yeah. And here I was, and to give you a quick backstory on how I started painting the shoes, I was actually an airbrush artist, airbrushing t-shirts.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I bought my equipment, machine gun, all this, right as that industry was kind of closing out. Right? Yeah. So as you can remember, they were in malls all across the country. And then all of a sudden one day they weren't. And just so I started like right on the back end of that. Yeah. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, here I bought all this stuff, all this equipment. And then the teammate came in with the shoes. I'm like, I don't know anybody who paints on shoes, but this was a opportunity disguised as an obstacle. And then I took it, and then I said, okay, here's how I started painting on tennis shoes. So that's how that.
Now, when at night, when you get the vision, I'm trying to highlight something for people that's going to watch this. I think this is a motivational highlight. This is an entrepreneurial digest. Oh, yeah. You could have said, never mind. You could have been like, you're tripping. No, you got up and got to work. So what was going through your mind at the time you're creating the shoe? Like you said, you got the vision. You don't know it's going to lead to all these major things. You're just being told by God, do the shoe, do this vision. What was your first steps you took to do it? And how did people around you react when they see you creating this shoe for, at that time, Barack Obama, who's the underdog? Like, were you getting any naysayers? Were everybody very positive about the vision?
Absolutely. So when I got the shoe, and remember that when that vision came to me, it was a shoe for me to keep pushing forward, right? So first and foremost, that was for me. Yeah. And so I didn't need much more inspiration other than that. I woke up and I probably painted that shoe in probably 6 hours. Wow. Which was like record time. Like I happened to have a size 11 Air Force One in my closet that was all white, haven't been touched. And I said, yep, this is the perfect canvas for it. Yeah. I painted the shoe. And when I went to the mall with the shoe, no one would, because initially I thought that I can bring the shoe to the mall and people would take pictures with the shoe. And it would be part of our video. I had a camcorder too. I was gonna make some content before we was real heavy on content back in the day. We weren't everyday heavy. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a video. I'm gonna put some pictures. No one would touch the shoe. No one would get on camera with the shoe. They did not want to be associated with it. And then the interesting part was that once I posted it and it was going viral, I would sit up all night and read that people were making up all kind of lies about me in regards to the shoe. It was like, you know, it was people on forums and in comment sections that were saying, no, this is someone trying to trick the Black community to buying shoes, and this blah, 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 blah. This is the guy that's. I was like, wow, this is incredible that people would sit here and make up all these different things. And there, you know, and there were people who did not like the aesthetic of the shoe. People in the sneaker community didn't like it because I was known. Well, I won't say known at that point, but I had started making a name for myself of painting portraits on tennis shoes.
Yeah, I saw that.
And when I would post them on the sneaker forums, people didn't like it because most customizers at that time only did colorway flips. So they made shoes kind of look exactly how they would in the store, just change the colorway. And I'm like, what's the point in that? Like, I'm gonna do something totally different on the shoe. What's the point in making it seem like Nike painted it when you can make it seem like you painted it, right? So that was my whole approach to it. So I'm like, you know what, y'all don't like it, I like it, so what? And I kept painting portraits for years, like 2 or 3 years. I kept painting portraits. And here I painted two portraits of Barack Obama on the shoe. And then that's the one that took off in the Smithsonian. Yeah. You know, just sticking to what I felt was uniquely me and not giving in to the field, giving in to the noise of the crowd. And I say, you know what, this is what I'm gonna do, whether y'all like it or not. And it paid off for me.
It's really dope because we're talking about all the naysayers. We're talking about all the obstacles, all the chances where you could have just said, no, I'm not going to do this. Right. But you kept doing it. And then what God did, he opened the door to Smithsonian. Like, if you got God in your corner, there's no limits of what can happen next. And so many people are like, well, I can't do that because I don't know so-and-so. Well, God, I mean, I'm not trying to get too religious, but I could tell you what mine is. So God's telling me to say this, like, I can get you anywhere you need to go. Just believe what I'm telling you to do the work, and then I'll pick you up and carry you along the way. So when your family gets the call that you're in the Smithsonian, like they've taken you to all these art museums through the years, I know it had to be a proud moment for them as well. What was the response you got? And to the naysayers, what did they say when they found out you had got this major accomplishment?
So that took some time because when the Smithsonian Museum reached out to me, this was 2008. The museum didn't open to maybe 2016. So we're talking like it was an 8-year span. So they got a chance, the naysayers and my family, to see me succeed along that journey of 8 years before they opened up the museum. And I got a picture. I might post it one day. I don't think I've ever posted it. It's the dopest picture of them all. It's my grandmother wearing her Obamas, her original ones, taking a photo of the Obamas in the display. And I'm taking a photo of her in her Obamas, taking a photo of the Obamas in the display. I mean, that is the dopest picture.
Amazing. I've seen you done some other dope Air Forces. I've seen Prince. I've seen Ali. When you've created these portraits, you're showing highlights of legends. Anybody in today or somebody you haven't done one about that you're thinking you want to create for either this generation's legends or legends we've lost in the past?
Ooh, that's a good question. Has there been someone? I don't know if there's been anyone that I haven't painted that I would like to paint, but I opened that space and room for someone that's up and coming, that could make a name for themselves, that I may be inspired to paint them and put them on the shoes so that hopefully generations after me could see and learn about it. Because what I found out is that when I began my journey as a sneaker customizer, I would get called to come into schools, and I was able to put social conscious issues on tennis shoes and it become a conversational piece. Where without that candy of the sneaker, kids may not have been listening. So there's always going to be something that I can put on a tennis shoe that can get someone's attention because of just the sheer excitement around sneakers, and like pairing that together, it's like putting the bubblegum flavor on the medicine, in the medicine. So, right. So I've learned to do that over the years. So that opportunity will always be there.
Now, I've seen you got a dope animation project called Naya. Can you talk to us about the storyline and what went into this creation of this amazing video series or docuseries you've done?
Yeah. So it's an animation film, could possibly evolve into a series at some point, but it's inspired by my niece and and some of the journeys that we were on when she was younger. And when she was 2, 3 years old, she used to walk around with this bear. And I sat there and I looked at her one day. I said, wait a minute, what if that bear was a real, 9-foot, 900-pound grizzly bear? And it was her best friend.
Wow.
And so that story has evolved from so many other stories that I originally came up with. The first story, they were space rangers and they were traveling through space to avenge the wrongs. You know what I mean? It was like, I loved it. It was cute, but I'm like, I don't know how much impact this is going to have. So, and so I kind of like put it on like the back burner. And then it was, about a year ago, I went back to it and I said, no, I think I got it. Yeah. I'm like, no, let's make this a story that's going to inspire people to identify the fire within, the gift they have inside them, and the importance of protecting that gift. And then also the how to use that gift. It's not just for you. Your gift and your purpose will be for other people, right? Nice. You're just going to be the vehicle of it, right? And I'm like, I can tell that story through the relationship Naya has with this teddy bear. And so Naya is a story set in ancient or biblical times about a young girl who discovers that she has the gift of fire, and fire not only being a weapon, but a tool of, a symbol of life, a symbol of God's presence.
Yeah. And
throughout the journey of her identifying with this gift and learning how to use it, learning how to protect her village, she learns through her battles with external foes and internal challenges the importance of protecting that spark within so that it can grow into a flame. Wow. And I think so many people get that spark extinguished before it becomes a flame, and they don't know what's inside of them because listening to the naysayers or whatever the case may be, let that extinguish their flame.
Yeah.
And so I felt like this would be a story that would resonate with people and could speak to purpose that lies within us all.
Yeah, I love that. Because, a lot of times we're taught that fire is bad, but fire is good because you need fire to heat yourself. Or like in the Bible, he turns fire into the bush so he can talk to you. So it's always interesting. If you want, you can put a negative connotation on anything. But if you go through it, you can find greatness in that. I've seen a lot of your artwork, man. You're super talented. The kid playing chess, though, is amazing to me. What was the motivation behind that? And is there somewhere where people can get by that? Is that something you're selling, or is that just a one-of-one type situation?
I can put the prints back on my website if they're not on it now. www.vanmonroe.com is where you can get my prints. Yeah, so that piece came to me. I believe a friend of mine from Columbus reached out to me to create that piece as a painting for himself, and he showed me a few different images that we use as references, and it actually was very popular once I painted it. And so I've not gone back to it, but my goal was to create a series where I show the kid on the other side that's playing against that kid right there. So I was thinking about a young lady on the other side playing against him in chess, and I got to get back to it to get that series going. But that was one of my favorite pieces. I really loved. I really loved everything about it. I loved creating it. I loved the powerful message I believe that it projects. I love that it resonated with people. It's one thing for me to make a painting and I like it, or just the one person who commissioned me for it likes it, loves it. But when people are inboxing me or making comments under the photo, and I'm seeing that, okay, wow, this really touched other people. And so I'm like, my job here was done. It was completed.
One idea I would give you is maybe because you hinted at it earlier, when you're growing up as a Black person in America, they want you to be in sports or they want you to be in entertainment. So I looked at that chest painting as kind of a symbolization of other things that can be dope
Oh
for
yeah,
Black kids and can grow to
absolutely.
aspire to become. So you've got somebody playing chess, you got somebody doing, a doctor, a lawyer. Like you can make cool stuff out of what people think is boring, but those are the amazing opportunities ahead for them as well. I seen you did Cleveland is Never Done. Dope concept. Like I said, I'm very familiar with Cleveland, love the city. What made you want to do that for your city, and how great does it feel to see the response that you got for your hometown?
Oh man, that was great, man. That shout out to my man Tim Lewis, man. He had the assist on that one, man. So I
Okay.
guess they were looking for talent in Cleveland. Nike was during the All Star weekend a few years ago when the All Star game was here, and they reached out to me, and there were like other people in Cleveland who were supposed to be on the film, and they didn't. They didn't go through with it for a reason, what have you. But I love who they picked to be on that documentary with me, and it was great to be able to speak to the spirit of Cleveland and to speak to the spirit of Cleveland as a creative, and do it on such a national, worldwide level when it comes to Nike being the people who produced the film and put
Yeah.
it out during All Star Weekend. The premiere was at the legendary Caribou House here in Cleveland, and I remember there was some Nike execs that flew in from New York, and I met them at the opening in the lobby, and they said, "We came here so that I can shake your hand. I just want," and it just made me feel like,
Yes.
because I'm sitting back like, why would you, come here with me? But so I was just humbled by the whole experience that, there were people out there who just wanted my input on why I believe that, Cleveland is never done. Why I feel like there's so much that's left here when the world hears the echoes of people who make fun of Cleveland so much, call it the mistake by the lake. They make fun of our Browns. They make fun of the fact we didn't win the championship in 52 years till LeBron came through and did it in 2016. So to be able to say, hey, we're more than that. We're more than what you have deemed as failures for us. These are people who are really movers and shakers in their own realm in Cleveland, and we love what we do, and we love the place that we're doing it in.
I seen you got a chance to create a dope art piece for LeBron winning the championship, and I
Yeah.
like what you did. Is you embodied the other sports teams. Like, how important was it to pay homage at that moment? You're highlighting LeBron, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, but in the ball, I think it
In the
was
ball,
you had all the other
So,
teams.
so for those of you who are not familiar with the Cleveland sports agony that that we all live with, our Cleveland sports fans, we've been so close to winning a championship. We've had teams, Cavalier teams, Cleveland Browns teams, Cleveland at the time, Indian teams with the Guardians now, that got so close but never could finish the job. And, just to have that heartbreak time after time. Okay, we think we're going to win. Here we got, here we are. Ernest Biner on the one, drops
Yeah,
the ball. Jose Mesa and the knife. Oh my God, here we go.
yeah,
Correct. Like,
twice.
it was just time after time after time. We would get to that point. And I remember when LeBron came, one of his promises was, I'm going to deliver a championship. And he would mention those moments. He said,
Yeah,
okay,
always.
I know those moments. I know what you guys went through. I'm going to change all that. And so if you look closely on his hand, he has a wristband that say delivered.
Yeah,
And that's the name of the painting, is delivered, because he delivered on his promise. And he's looking into the Larry O'Brien trophy and with a tear in his eye, because he's looking at all the other the athletes who have come close and then could not deliver, could not bring it home for Cleveland. And here he is, a kid from Northeast Ohio, able to do that for such a deserving city, such passionate sports fans.
thanks.
And now after 52 years, and if you look into the painting again, you look into the lights behind him, what's the stands, but it's illustrated as lights. You see 52. Like, I have so many different nuggets that tells the story that is interwoven into that painting. It took me a while to kind of put it all together. But that is one of my favorite pieces of all time.
With you being a true Cleveland historian as you are, do you think the fact that the Cleveland Cavaliers had to overcome the adversity that they did, they had to go up against the greatest team on paper ever, they're down 3-1 in a way that most people say you can never come back, to talk about all the adversity you guys have had, all those moments where you were going to win but something happened wrong? How did it feel in that moment to see that it finally went right for you guys, and not just went right one game, but it had to go right 3 games back to back, and you had to take out the best to get there? Like, how's that story sound now that it's came full circle?
You couldn't write a better script than that.
Yeah.
Right. That's Hollywood right there. Right.
Yeah,
if this never happened, Disney could have made this movie, and then people would have said, no, that's impossible. Nobody can come back from 3-1 and beat the team with the greatest record of all time. That's not a feasible achievement there, you know. And to be at that point and to be like, okay, not again. Oh my God, here we are again in the finals. You know, we lost finals the year before. Kyrie got hurt in like the second game, and we're like, oh my God, all right, that's it. So here we are again, down 3-1. In every game, like all of Cleveland emotions and hearts in the past just weighing on the fact that, okay, we got to win out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there was a dry eye in Cleveland when that final buzzer went off when they were in Golden State. And oh my goodness. And that is, I think that was reflected in how many people showed up for that parade.
Facts.
That was the most crowded parade or packed parade I've ever seen for a sports team. And it was all love. Like, it was all love. No matter what walk of life you came from, no matter what you had in your bank account, no matter what type of education you had, we all were one person. We were one group. We were Cleveland fans that were enjoying the bliss, enjoying the excitement of our team winning the championship. Everybody was hugging each other. It was such a beautiful moment that, you know, I don't know could ever be replicated because of how long it took. Now, I'm gonna say this though. I say that, but then if the Browns win a Super Bowl,
it'll be worse.
I tell people all the time, like, the Browns win the Super Bowl. If you thought that parade was something, they're gonna have to close off 71 highway because it's going to be on the freeway because there's no way. Do
you guys ever take credit for the Baltimore Ravens though? Because if they hadn't moved, that was your guys' championship.
Some people do, but they're not real Browns fans. Okay. We don't take credit for that. No, they're gone. They wear the purple and black. That was the Ravens. You know, we love Ozzie Newsome, but Ozzie, you know, he's a Raven now. You know, you know, we don't take credit for that, not at all, because, you know, we feel like one day it's going to come. You know, you know, when that, like I said, when that happens, that'll be another movie script. That'll be something that you could never imagine. It's going to be something amazing when we get a chance to go to the Super Bowl. We're going to win on like a 60 or 70-yard field goal. It'll be something crazy.
It's something crazy. Now, I'm based out of Indianapolis, so, you know what I mean, I'm very familiar with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Right now, this year, looks like we might be coming to see y'all at the Cavs now. You guys got the best team in the East. How does it feel right now to be as dominant as you are in the NBA and not have the LeBron there? Like, it's a whole new nucleus, a whole new exciting team. How does it feel being a Cleveland fan in today's arena?
Well, today it feels great because it feels like we have that nucleus, like you speak of that Golden State team, where it was a team, right? Before they got Kevin Durant, you know what I mean? It was a solid team, and these guys are young as well. So even if we don't win it this year, we feel like we got a great chance of winning it in the next few years, and we have some amazing guys on the team, and it's just fun and exciting to watch them out there. And then for it not to be a team that is ran or led by LeBron James, and what's going to be crazy if we end up playing the Lakers in the finals. Like, that'll be
movie type stuff. Luka,
because we've you know, this second time that LeBron left, I think Cleveland has like kind of embraced the fact that, you know, hey, he did what he did here. We go love him. You know, we love him. He's gonna, you know, go somewhere else to finish out his career. Not the same as when he went to Miami.
Right.
So we've always cheered for him. They always play a video on a jumbotron when he comes in town. I don't know how that works when he comes, if he comes in the finals.
Yeah,
it's like we're gonna have to take that crown off your head for us to win a championship without you. And, you know, not that that would tarnish any of his legacy here. He's always going to be loved and revered here as the person who brought us that championship after 52 years. But it'd be so awesome for those young guys to go out there and beat LeBron, you know.
Now, you mentioned a lot how important it was for you for there to be a black male artist that's getting recognition, how you wanted to be that, and how you put messages in your products to help people. Not to get too political, but what are you doing nowadays when it's looking like they're changing a lot of stuff? How are you and your team keeping the positive vibes going, keeping the learning going? Like, there are erasing history books. Are you thinking about releasing your own art that's going to highlight some of the forgotten people they've erased, or anything you and your team are thinking about doing to help keep these legacies going while they're trying to change them?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hitting it right on the head. You know, after I get done with Naya, I definitely will be. This is my first opportunity of spreading my wings creatively in the film realm. You know, yeah. So I'm just getting started. You know, I'm creating a studio, and you know, I'm going to bring in Black, brown creators and writers to create stories. And my whole point behind it was to not wait for Disney and Pixar to write a story for us every 5 years, and we get excited or disappointed based on how they how they you know portray the story. And I'm like, you know what? Let's create our own opportunities, and let's create our own. We'll write our own stories from people who live there, people who are in this culture. And so creating those opportunities for, like I said, Black and brown writers and creators and artists is my goals, my mission, and to do it here in the Midwest is what I would love to do. So everybody don't have to go out to LA, don't have to go to New York. It's creative and talented people here. And I think that it would be powerful if we can keep it here and still be able to have an impact across, not only in our culture, but across the world. So to your point, yes, we will be making films that are going to speak to whatever void I think is missing, and to make sure that our lost or our heroes aren't lost in whatever political wars that are going on. And regardless of what's happening, we're going to still continue to tell those stories and make sure those stories will never be forgotten.
Yeah, I love it. Now, do you have any advice for someone who wants to be a professional artist? They don't want to be told that they're a broke artist. You know, they want to overcome the naysayers the way you did. Any advice you would give them?
Only thing I would tell you guys is to find what makes you unique. And yes, you can grow, yes, you can evolve, but tap into that fire, that flame that's inside of you that makes you unique, that makes you wake up in the middle of the night, paint, draw, write, and you stick to it. You stick to it. You don't let anyone outside of you extinguish your flame, right? And because people who have not sacrificed for their dream will tell you how to give up on yours, and you can't listen to them. Right. And so you need to keep pushing through and understand that adversity is only going to make you stronger. Anything you go through is going to add texture to your story. It's going to be honing you to be the person that God created you to be, the creator that God created you to be. So don't look at it as, oh my God, what are these obstacles that are stacked against me? Look at it as, you know, this is refining me. This is making me better. This is honing me to be better, right? Whatever the case may be. And I'm just going to say, keep fighting for why you were created. Keep fighting for that.
Now, how important is a team to you, and who are some of the team members that help your day-to-day operations?
Oh man, my team. Like I said, without the people around me, I would not be able to create. I would not be able to bounce things off of other creative minds and hone in on a narrative that I think will resonate with my audience. I got my band, Larry Bonton, who's just around the corner. Got my band, Tim Lewis, Chantel Starr, amazing writer and creative. I got a host of Janiyah Williams, star of Naya. Like she helps me. She helps me. Like she is a creative in herself. We was actually just at the art museum this past weekend, and we were creating the stories, and she was with our cameras, and she was showing me techniques that she had learned on TikTok that I'm too old to know about or whatever. But she did teach me some things, and I'm like, whoa, okay, wow, I can add that into the film. But she's with me while I'm creating. She gives me ideas. Of course, it's a story that's inspired by her, and so she gives me things and gives me an insight on from the angle of an 11-year-old, and so that's something that I don't have, right? So I have a lot of young creative people around me who I will call part of my team, unofficially, but part of my team because I learned from them and I, bounce things off them. Julian Starr, an amazing young creative out of Columbus. Lennox Starr, another amazing creative out of Columbus. Like these kids they're tomorrow. They're the future of tomorrow. And I think you got to have a well-balanced unit around you as not just people who are older and more experienced, but some of the younger people as well, because they are seeing things that you can't see, right? And you may be missing. And it's always a moment where I'm like, aha, okay. Like I would have never thought of that.
Now, we highlighted a lot of highlights that I found for you. What's a personal highlight of yours that you'll never forget throughout your career?
You know what? I will never forget when Spike Lee put my shoe in a Michael Jackson music video.
Sheesh. Okay.
I remember being, 4 or 5 years old. Thriller came out, and I was out in California at the time. And I remember my mom had it on like VHS and playing Thriller and practicing mimicking the
whole dance moves and everything.
Oh my goodness. And to one day be able to say that my shoe is in the works of inside of a piece of a music video promoting Michael Jackson's music, and then done by Spike Lee. I grew up watching all his films, right? Yeah. So many years he shared his art with me. Like here I am sharing my art with him, and he's purchasing my work to put in the film to help tell the story of Michael Jackson. I don't think so. Here's why that's most important to me, because I hope there are hundreds of artists who come behind me and are in the Smithsonian. That is my goal. I don't want to be the only. Yeah. I don't want to be the only one. I want it to be filled with young Black artists, young brown artists, young artists, all minorities. Just flood. Flood the aisles in these museums. The only thing that I don't think is going to happen is it be more Michael Jackson music to make a music video. Yeah. And so because of that moment will stand out for me, because I think that might be the end of that era, And so when Spike Lee did that for me, I'm forever grateful to that man.
Now, what do you like to do for fun if you got downtime? I know you're a crazy artist. You're super busy with Naya and all the dope stuff you're doing. But if you got time to yourself, what are you doing to enjoy yourself?
Well, I mean, you actually just mentioned her name. I'm with my niece Naya. Like we go, and she loves volleyball, and I got to learn the game of volleyball so I can be there and be a coach for her. And we go and just the other day she took me on this like wild goose chase for some stuff in like Sephora and Ulta, and I'm never in them stores, so I'm trying to learn. Okay, so what does this product do for your face? And it's just so amazing, like watching her grow from being from the infant to a young lady, and just being so smart, and just enjoying time with her. We had a really funny moment the other day where she told me I didn't have any motion. And she said, I said, what do you know about motion? And so she went to she went to her AI app to ask, who was Taylor Monroe? and it was funny is that the app she used did not know who I was. And so I said, go to ChatGPT. And she went to ChatGPT, and it gave her like 4 or 5 paragraphs of her uncle. And so she got a chance to read that her uncle does have motion. And it's so funny to me because, like, to the world, I'm something, but I'm her uncle. You know what I mean? She's like, yeah, might be cool. You do all that kind of stuff, but you're just my uncle, right? And I love it.
Hard to impress kids, yeah.
And she keeps me grounded, you know what I'm saying? So that is that's what I love all the time.
You mentioned you went viral on MySpace, so you've been around a long time. How are you using all this? You mentioned it now, the AI, the social media, all these new tools and tricks that the new creators have. How are you adapting those to what you're doing to make everything easier for you?
Well, that's a good question too. Hey man, you're really killing this interview. I'm just gonna say this right now.
Thank you.
Questions you've asked, I've never been asked before in the way that you're asking. Okay, I'm gonna say that right now. I pretty much, when it comes to my career, I had an amazing interview last week with Becky Brown Girl about abstinence, and that was a different interview as well. But this one right here, when it comes to my career, like you just
Thank you, man.
So,
Appreciate it.
I'd say AI, man. I initially was one of the artists who was like, I'm gonna be a purist. I'm never gonna touch AI. You know, I was one of them, you know, the grumpy old man type. But then when I saw that it could level the playing field for a person like me, that I can utilize it to create artwork and be at the levels, at least visually, of the big time studios. You know what I mean? And I never use it to fully. Yeah, you can go back there. This is my man Larry. I told you my partner Larry. Just this way, Larry. I mentioned you earlier. There's Larry in the back. He's trying to get back. Yeah, go ahead. That's cool, Larry. So what I tell people, young creatives, like, I don't let it create for me. You know, I help it. Like, it's like the wind that's going to blow my flame. You know what I mean? Like, I don't let it think for me. You know, I don't look at it any differently than like a spell check when we got spell checks, you know, just to make sure that what I am putting out is what I envisioned it, and that they can do it at a faster rate, you know. And so I use it to my advantage. That's the best way I can say it, you know.
I would say one thing you might be able to do, because you're real passionate about helping the kids, is you might be able to use ChatGPT to create a step-by-step process on how to teach a kid how to make art like yourself.
Yeah.
And then it'll spit out that whole process, and then you just walk them. That's what I love about this stuff, is it's real. Like, if I wanted to build a house right now, how do I build a house? Tell me every step I need to do, every material. So, and I'm excited for content creators too, because a lot of the social media stuff, a lot of the content we need now, is AI is going to do it for you. So with you being a dope artist, you could take that art and make it a living piece of material now because of what's available with AI. So I definitely recommend that for you. Anything you have coming up on your calendar that we can circle for you, either new art being released, the Naya story, or anything else in general?
Yeah, so we got Naya coming later this year. I got to finish putting some things together. I'm getting voice actors almost every day to come in and contribute to that piece. There's going to be merch that's going to be made to help promote that as well. But I'm also doing something with my partner Larry, and I can't get into too much of it, but you guys will see it on my social media. All I'm going to say is think of doors, think of a new way. All right, Larry, think of a new way of displaying art. And what I can share with you is I'm gonna have almost like a one-man play type environment, type exhibit, to where I'm gonna be reading a monologue, or I have like a 3-page monologue I have to memorize. So this is me really taking a leap, a creative leap, and doing something different than what I've done in the past, in a way that I'm presenting my art more than just being just you know, a frame on the wall. Now you're getting a performance around the frame on the wall, so to speak, and, you know, just trying to do something creative, just trying to really almost, if I could, you know, start a renaissance and get other artists involved as well. And so that, you know, we really just open up the gamut of how we can tell art and reimagining what art is.
Yeah. Now, if you could work with any artist, either living or past, who would that artist be, and what would you guys create?
Ooh, I would work with Norman Rockwell.
Ooh, okay.
Norman Rockwell is one of my favorite artists. Just the way he's able to tell stories and the expressions of the faces of the people and he spoke to a lot of social conscious issues as well, political things as well in his time. And I think like bringing him in this era and say, okay, Mr. Rockwell,
what would you do?
we got a lot going on right now. Like, what can we do to inspire, to encourage, to speak, to tell the truth, to just be a just be a piece that speaks to the people. You know, what could we create, and just seeing what we come up with, like that'd be amazing. Like that would be like the pinnacle for me.
Love it. Last question: what would you like to say to your fans and supporters who's been rocking with you all these years?
I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to everybody who's been there from the MySpace days, who's been there when I was just on Facebook, who's been there before the world knew who I was, and was encouraging me when I only had 2 likes on a photo, and they were the one comment that said, "Man, it's the dopest thing I've ever seen." You know, to the people who just now got a chance to be introduced to my work today. Like, I appreciate everyone who takes time to encourage me along this journey, because like we said earlier, you hear so many naysayers, you know, the adversary is pushing against you. it's so many things that can prevent you or extinguish your flame. You know, those who are going to help blow that flame for you, who are going to add that wind, going to add that oxygen to the flame, and help you see in yourself what they see. Because sometimes it's hard to see internally what you have. We have two eyes that point outward. It's easy to see everybody else's talent. It's more difficult to look inward and see what you have and believe what you have. And my supporters have been helping me along the way. It's not been easy. There's been times where I've, lost courage, or lost my motivation, and they've been right there. So, I thank them.
And I definitely want to say, man, we need your talent. We need it. Like right now, it's such a terrible time for this generation of all the stuff they're erasing in the history books. And, I want to put an emphasis on that, because people like myself and yourself that believe in helping the culture, believe in helping keep these stories alive, we have to be more vocal than ever. And us being God-fearing people, while they're out here telling this bullcrap, telling the misrepresentation of God and Christ, we have to stand on it. So if you have a talent that you have, I challenge you to be the voice we need right now, because if people are quiet, then it could get a lot worse. So I appreciate your time tonight, man. It's been a great conversation, and I look forward to the Naya project. When it releases, make sure you let Sincere know so we can promote it and all that for you, man. I appreciate it.
Okay, no problem. Thank you again. The dopest interview about my career I've ever had. Kudos to you and your team. Kudos to Sincere for reaching out to me. Thank you for being patient while we figured out, when we're going to get on. Like I wanted to come back and do this, and I've not been disappointed. I mean, you've totally exceeded any expectations that I may have had, and that's that is a testament to you and the work that you do and the passion that you have behind what you're doing. So thank you so much.
I'll say I do Hype in the Streets as well. So it's a weekly TV show we do for promoting stuff. So when it gets closer to Naya, let's have you,
I'll definitely reach out.
The team come on, and we'll do a whole expose on what you guys
do
are
it.
doing and stuff.
Let's do it. And I'll send you some merch and all that, man. Like, let's do it, man. And have like the opening. Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure, man. I'm gonna get it out there. I'm gonna definitely be seeding. I'm gonna work as like I am 20th Century Fox, as I'm Pixar, as I'm all those different things, And yeah, like I said, it's gonna be t-shirts, it's gonna be socks, there's gonna be pillows, there's gonna be all kinds of things that's gonna speak to the narrative and speak into our audience, to let them know about the flame that they have inside them, and to remind them to protect it, remind them to utilize it, and don't let anybody extinguish it. So thank you.
Definitely. Salute, fam.
Salute. Thank you.
Peace.